Do you wish to understand why certain men awaken the interest of women to the point of being pursued, while others merely end up in memory as the kind man who didn't succeed? I'll tell you straight, women have vulnerabilities. And no, I'm not referring to superficial aspects like luxury shoes or good morning texts. I allude to those emotional, psychological, and behavioral cracks that leave them susceptible to a man who truly understands what he's doing. The vast majority of men go through life without the slightest notion of how a woman's mind operates internally. They assume that by being good, honest, or attentive, they have already achieved victory. However, this is equivalent to playing chess without knowing how the pieces move. If you don't understand the natural, social, and emotional weaknesses of a woman, you will be manipulated, you will be tested, you will be placed in the friend zone, and you won't even understand what happened. And now, the hardest part. A woman will never reveal her frailties to you. On the contrary, she will use yours against you. This means that if you lack control, direction, and clarity about the functioning of the female psyche, you will always be playing at a disadvantage. They are not your enemies, but neither are they as naive as you were led to believe. This content is not intended for sensitive men, those who believe in fairy tales, or those who imagine that love conquers all. This video is for men willing to decipher the female reality from a perspective of power, discernment, and strategy. And before anyone gets offended, this is not misogyny. It's psychology. Understanding their vulnerable points is not to take advantage of them, but to prevent them from taking advantage of you, and above all, to relate based on awareness and not confusion. Because herein lies the truth. Women do not respect a man who does not understand them, and you do not have the capacity to lead, seduce, or sustain a relationship with a woman if you are unaware of the facets that even she strives to hide. Today we will unveil these facets. I will present to you the 10 most potent and recurring vulnerabilities in contemporary women so that you learn to recognize them, manage them wisely, and above all, so that you never again become the man who offered everything and received nothing in return. Prepare yourself, because after this video, your perception of women will never be the same. First, attention, their favorite narcotic. Second, validation, the incessant search to feel desired. Third, the emotionally unattainable man who obsesses them. Fourth, the drama she needs to feel alive. Fifth, the female rivalry that dominates her. Sixth, the inability to handle rejection even when she provokes it. Seventh, the passion for the one who doesn't depend on her. Eighth, the uncertainty that keeps her captivated. Ninth, the confusion between control and emotional security. 10th, the surrender to authentic masculinity. Point 1. Attention, their favorite narcotic. Most men still don't understand this fact. For a large number of women, male focus is more addictive than affection itself. This is not a compliment, not an exaggeration. It is pure psychology and the continuous validation of the ego. From a very young age, women learn that their appearance, their presence, and their feminine energy grant them power. And how is this power measured? By the reaction of men. If you watch her, if you make a comment, if you respond promptly, if you like her posts, if you bend over backwards for her, she feels like she is winning even if she doesn't want you. Many men assume that by offering more attention, they will be more present in her mind. But the opposite occurs. The more available you make yourself, the less value you have to her. The reason? You become predictable, boring, and she has already gotten what she wanted. Your energy and your focus are analogous to a currency. If you give it away easily, it devalues. And here lies the danger. Women do not always want your love. Sometimes they just want the certainty that they can have it. That is the real addiction. Not you, but the emotional dominance they exert over you thanks to your attention. Has it ever happened that a woman approaches you, smiles at you, flirts, but when you start to reciprocate, she simply disappears? It's not confusion. It's an unconscious strategy. She has already been fed what she needed, the confirmation that she can provoke you. She needs nothing more. She wasn't looking for a relationship, just her dose. Now pay attention to this. Social media is their practice field. They post a photo not for you, but for the hundreds of men who will react. This constitutes a source of dopamine more potent than a real date. Thus, you understand why so many prefer digital attention over genuine love. Let's observe a common scenario. A man starts dating a woman. At first, she seems interested. He responds to her promptly, sends her long messages, showers her with compliments, treats her like a queen. The result? She gets bored, starts to respond less frequently, becomes distant. He gets frustrated, not understanding what happened. What happened was simple. She already felt validated. She already received her dose of attention, and he, without realizing it, gave her everything without asking for anything in return. Worse, he gave her power without demanding respect. A man who understands this learns to modulate his attention, not as a game, but as a form of self-respect. Don't offer your focus freely. Don't always be available. And above all, understand, if your attention is free, she will not value it. Because in fact, for many women, male attention is their favorite narcotic. And it's up to you to decide if you will be the supplier or the naive one who distributes it, expecting nothing in return. Point 2. Validation. The incessant search to feel desired. One of the female frailties most underestimated by men is this. A woman has a constant need to feel desired, not because she wants you, not because she respects you, but because her self-esteem often depends on it. Male desire confirms that she still has value, that she remains attractive, special, noticed. And if she doesn't receive it, she seeks it out even in contexts where she has no genuine emotional interest. Have you ever noticed how some committed women continue to flirt with other men? Or how a woman who rejected you persists in posting provocative photos right after you start to pull away? This is not a coincidence, it's a search for validation. The problem is that most men fall for this trap. She doesn't want to be with you, but she wants you to continue wanting to be with her. The reason? It signals to her that she can still be desired without having to offer anything in return. And for many, this is a direct dopamine shot to the ego. She can ignore you all day, but if she perceives that you have lessened your intensity, that you've stopped reacting, that you are no longer so accessible, she will send you a signal. An Instagram story, a subtle hint, a message like, "Have you forgotten me already?" But it's not about love. It's about a need for reaffirmation. This pattern manifests even in stable relationships. Many women need to feel that their partners continue to desire them as they did at the beginning, even if they don't put in the same effort. If they don't feel this, they become frustrated, disconnect, or start looking for that feeling elsewhere. A typical example: she becomes distant, no longer responds as before. He, perplexed, starts to insist, to question what's happening, to try harder. However, the more he tries to please her, the less desired he feels himself. Why? Because unbeknownst to him, she is getting validation by seeing that she can pull away, and he will still chase her. Now, listen carefully. Validation is not negative if you control it. It's not about never telling her she attracts you. It's about offering validation only when she also invests. The problem arises when a man validates freely, without filter or criteria, solely for fear of losing her. And in her mind, this instantly lowers him to the level of all the other desperate men who have already validated her. The secret lies in this. A woman places more value on the validation she has to earn than on the one that is given to her without effort. Not because she is bad, but because that is how her emotional psychology works. Therefore, if you aspire to her genuine respect, value, and desire, do not validate her out of neediness. Validate by choice. When you understand that validation is like fire, it can warm or burn, you will know precisely when to use it and when to withdraw it. Point 3. The emotionally unattainable man obsesses them. Although it may seem contradictory, what attracts many women most is not the man who provides them with security, but rather the one who makes them feel uncertainty. The emotionally unattainable man doesn't make things easy. He doesn't give himself away in the first message. He doesn't expose his entire inner world in a single conversation. And this, far from pushing them away, drives them crazy. Why? Because it awakens something extremely powerful in them. The challenge. Many women, especially those accustomed to receiving male attention without any effort, feel an almost obsessive attraction to this type of man who doesn't let himself be won over easily. And it's not about being cold or rude, it's about being selective, reserved, focused on himself. The emotionally inaccessible man doesn't feel the need to talk about his emotions constantly. He doesn't seek approval. He doesn't expect to be liked. And precisely for this reason, She longs to be the only one to get him to open up. They see him as a puzzle to be solved, as an emotional trophy they wish to conquer. Because deep down, many women carry this internal belief: if I can make this difficult man fall in love with me, it will confirm my value as a woman. The interesting thing is that the more inaccessible you seem on an emotional level, the more emotional she becomes. She starts to invest more, to think about you more, to project scenarios. Because desire is built in space, in tension, in doubt. And this is where many men make a mistake. They believe that if they don't show everything, if they don't verbalize their feelings instantly, they will lose her. But what happens is the opposite. When you don't give her everything, when you don't open up completely, she starts to imagine. And what she imagines is often much more powerful than any truth you could tell her. Thus, if you are a centered man who doesn't give away your emotional world quickly, you are not being distant. You are being desirable. And for many women, that is a weakness they cannot control. Point 4. The drama. She needs to feel alive. Although many men are reluctant to accept it, there is something they need to understand once and for all. A large number of women are attracted to drama. They provoke it, they feed it, and at times they even need it to feel that the relationship has vitality. Drama for them is raw emotion. It is intensity and movement, a chaos disguised as passion. When everything is going too well, with too much tranquility, without conflicts or fluctuations, many feel that something is missing, that there is no spark, that adrenaline is lacking. And then, without realizing it, they create drama to feel again. But it is at this point that many men fail. Instead of recognizing the maneuver, they take it personally. They react, they get upset, they try to justify themselves, and they fall into the emotional trap. Even worse, they believe the problem is them. No, my friend. The problem is that she doesn't know how to regulate her own emotions in the absence of conflict. And you are feeding this cycle every time you get involved in her games, in her mood swings, and her baseless provocations. Here's the criticism that many need to hear. Stop trying to appease everything. Stop wanting to be the emotional savior. She doesn't need a therapist. She needs a man who doesn't bow down to every storm she creates. Because if you don't set boundaries, if you don't teach her with your posture that you will not dance on her emotional roller coaster, she will continue to turn up the volume of the drama until you lose control. And when you lose control, you lose respect. And when you lose respect, you already know the outcome. It's time to wake up. Understand that drama is not always an emotional accident. Sometimes it's a way to test you, other times a sign of boredom. And often, it is simply an internal need to feel something, even if it's chaos. You are not here to feed this game. You are here to maintain serenity, lead with presence, and demonstrate that you will not be dragged along by emotions that do not belong to you. When she realizes that you do not react to her drama, she begins to admire you. Because deep down, what a woman respects is not the man who enters her game, but the one who maintains his power, even when she loses control. Point 5. Female competition consumes her. One of the most invisible female vulnerabilities to men is this: women do not compete for men. They compete for validation in front of other women. And when this competition is activated, their desire for you often stems not from who you are, but from what you represent socially. This happens more often than you might think. A woman may show no interest in you until she realizes another woman has you. She can ignore you for weeks, but if you post a photo with an attractive woman, suddenly, she remembers your existence. Sound familiar? It's not a coincidence. It's part of a deep emotional dynamic. Many women constantly compare themselves, and if another woman gets the attention of a high-value man, it triggers their competitive instinct. Because it's not just about having the man, but about beating the other woman. And herein lies the mistake of many men. They believe that being exclusive from the beginning makes them more attractive. But if a woman knows that no one else desires you, that there is no competition, that you only have eyes for her as if she were the only option in your universe, instead of feeling special, she loses interest. Harsh, but true. This doesn't mean you should play with women's feelings or create artificial jealousy. No. What you need to understand is that your perceived value increases when you are a man that other women admire, respect, or desire. And not for being a player, but because you project genuine value, options, and a life of your own. When a woman perceives that others see you as a valuable man, that unconscious impulse is activated that says, if they all see him that way, why don't I? And then she starts to look at you with different eyes. You don't have to say anything. Just live your life. Surround yourself with good energy, including feminine energy. Be confident and let her see, without explanations, that you are not a needy man, but a man of choice. Because in this game, she often doesn't want you because she desires you, but because she can't stand for another woman to have you first. Point 6. She can't handle rejection, even when she causes it. This is going to sound harsh, but it's a truth that very few men dare to face. Many women are capable of rejecting but cannot tolerate being rejected even if they initiated the process. Think about it. A woman can ignore you, leave you on red, make you feel insufficient, but if you pull back, if you decide you don't want to stay there anymore, if you show genuine indifference, something changes. Suddenly her ego is activated and what seemed like disinterest turns into discomfort, confusion, irritation, or even a desire to have you back. Why does this happen? Because for many women, rejection is not something they expect to receive. It's something they are used to dishing out. Society, social media, and constant validation have created an environment where they are the selectors. And when you suddenly show that you have the power of choice and that you don't choose her, you deliver an emotional blow to her ego. Rejection, when it comes from you, doesn't just hurt because of you. It hurts because of what it represents. Am I not good enough for him? How is this possible? And this intensifies even more if she was the one who rejected you first, because in her mind, you should have stayed there waiting, begging, available in case she changed her mind. But when you don't, when you take control and walk away without drama, without resentment, without begging, she enters into conflict. You have flipped the script. And do you know what often happens? She returns timidly, with some excuse, a casual message, a reaction to a post. But behind it, there is no love, only a wounded ego. She wants to check if she still holds power over you, and if you give in, you lose everything all over again. Look at this classic scenario. She pulls away, says she's not ready, or that she'd rather be friends. You respect it, you don't insist, you simply disappear. A few weeks go by, and suddenly she sends you a hi, as if nothing happened. This isn't magic, it's ego. She realized you are no longer there, and that, although it was her decision, emotionally unsettles her. This is where you must stand firm, because if you go back to validating a woman who has already rejected you without her showing any real change, you are teaching her that she can lose you and get you back whenever she pleases. And then you go back to being her emotional toy. Remember, there is nothing that causes a woman more pain than being ignored by the man who once desired her. And you decide if you will be that strong man or the one who puts himself back on a silver platter. Point 7. She falls for the one who doesn't need her. Here is a truth that few men understand and that many reject because it is uncomfortable. A woman feels more attracted to the man who does not need her, not the one who chases her, not the one who worships her without limits, but the one who can live, grow, and shine with or without her. And you know why? Because that type of man represents emotional freedom. He is not enslaved by affection. He does not give himself away out of anxiety. He does not seek to fill his voids with someone else's affection. That man is complete. And this, although they won't admit it openly, is something women deeply admire. Most men believe that being romantic, detail-oriented, and attentive all the time makes them more attractive. But when you do this out of neediness, out of fear of losing her, from the idea that she is all I have, what you project is not love, it's dependence. And that extinguishes desire, because female desire is not born from what you offer her, but from who you are without her. When she sees that you don't fall apart if she doesn't respond, that you don't die if she doesn't reply, that your world doesn't stop for her, something changes. She starts to feel curious, to wonder why you don't need her like all the others. And that's where genuine attraction begins. The man who doesn't need a woman to feel valuable becomes magnetic, not because he plays games, but because he lives his life with purpose. And this makes him scarce, interesting, hard to forget. Imagine this. A man meets a beautiful woman. He treats her well, Yes, but without overdoing it. He has his routine, his goals, his space. He doesn't write to her all the time. He doesn't cancel his plans for her. At first, she feels confused. Why isn't he chasing me like the others? But as time goes on, the more she wants to know about him, the more involved she becomes. Not because he chased her, but because she realizes he is different. He doesn't need her. And for a woman, that is more irresistible than any compliment. Many men don't understand this. When you don't need her attention, she starts to seek yours. Because value doesn't lie in what you give her, but in what you are not willing to lose. Your dignity, your time, your energy. And when you are so focused on yourself, so firm in your path, so connected with your purpose, a woman notices that if she doesn't add value, she won't remain. This attitude, without a single word, proclaims something that every woman respects. I am not here to need you. I am here to choose you. And that difference changes everything. If you've made it this far, you already know something that most men never dare to accept. Women don't fall for the nicest guy, nor the most generous, nor the most devoted, but for the one who knows who he is and does not bend before them. It sounds harsh, but it's the truth that the reason many men fail with women is not because they are unattractive or unlucky, but because they live from a place of need, of weakness, of fear of loss. And a woman can smell that from a mile away. Look, the man who places a woman above his own dignity has already lost. The one who stays silent to not bother her, who tolerates her tests, her games, her ego, believing that this is how he will win her over, becomes invisible. Because there is nothing that annihilates attraction more than a man without inner strength. And here comes the most controversial statement I will tell you today. Prepare yourself. You don't break a woman's heart by being cruel. You shatter her ego by being strong. And that, although they won't say it, drives them crazy. Because deep down, they are not looking for a perfect man, nor an emotional slave. They are looking for a man who does not tremble before them, and few men are that man. You decide which side you're on. You can continue being the nice guy who gives everything expecting something in return, or you can transform into that firm man, difficult to manipulate, who doesn't beg, doesn't chase, and yet is the one they all remember. Now I'm speaking directly to you. I want to know your journey. I want you to tell me below in the comments which of these frailties you have witnessed in action. What happened to you? What was your mistake? What was your victory? You are not alone. All men go through this. I read every comment. I respond. And if I can help you, believe that I will. This space is for opening our eyes, to stop living in a mode of weakness, so that together we can build something that no one taught us. To be real men in an era that prefers us to be submissive. Don't forget to subscribe if this made you think. Leave a like if any part of it made you uncomfortable, because that's where the truth you most needed to hear resides. And remember, it's not about hating them. It's about understanding how they work so that you stop losing yourself in the attempt to please them. See you in the next one.